Chapter 45, Putting Up Tomatoes and the Sauce. Tomatoes, like most things, taste better when they're roasted. And by better, I mean sweeter, which is the same thing. Some people, when they put up tomatoes, just put them in jars and cover them with some hot water. Not the farmer's wife. She coats them in olive oil and sets them a-roastin'. There's no length of time you roast them for, just until they're done. And you'll know they're done when you can smell them. Once they're done, she lets them cool in the pan. At this point, they can be bagged and frozen and used later in all kinds of things from chili to soups, or it can be made right into sauce. That's what the farmer's wife is working on today. Now, for the sauce. The recipe is the farmer's wife's, and it isn't. It's hers in that she put the list together, wrote it down, and makes it the same way each and every time. It isn't because someone else made it first. At least she thinks they did. You see, one of her very favorite things in the world to do is eat something someone has made and figure out how they made it. She tastes. She nibbles. She savors, closing her eyes and breathing in deep, tasting the garlic, the thyme. And what is that, she wonders. Most things take a taste or two and she has it, but not the sauce. The sauce has taken years. There was a restaurant not far from where the farmer's wife grew up, where all her family events took place. Birthdays, baptisms, and funerals all began or ended at this restaurant. And they had the best sauce. It was rich, but not too rich, thick, but not too thick, spicy, but just enough, and yet still sweet. It was what every sauce should be. And she could not figure out how they made it. Days and years were spent making sauces that were just okay. She'd almost given up hope. Until the day she made homemade tomato soup. She'd roasted the tomatoes with garlic besides, all coated in a good olive oil. She'd made the chicken stock the way it should be made, by roasting the bones before covering them in water, in the very pan in which they had been roasted, alongside a carrot or two, an onion, and some celery. She'd let it simmer for hours and more, before straining and pouring the golden juices onto the tomatoes and garlic waiting to be pureed. And pureed it was, until thick, but not too thick, rich, but not too rich, and yet still sweet. She tasted the soup, as all good cooks do, and nearly fainted. This was the sauce. It only lacked one thing, the spicy. She carefully shook in 1 drop, 2 of cayenne pepper sauce before giving it a good stir. Slowly, reverently, she dipped in the spoon and brought it to her mouth. She'd done it. And now she does it each year. Which is a good thing, because that wonderful little restaurant is closed now forever. And how else could her family have a birthday, or God forbid, die?